Good morning, everyone. I want to tell you about someone I met. It's a true story about a homeless man. And he was that's not on my screen. Everybody got it?
You don't got it? Enter.
Well, good morning again, everyone. I want to share a story with you about a man that I met. He's a homeless man, and he was known for violence. And he suffered from a non-medical personality disorder. It was like a mob lived inside of his head. He lived to tormented all of the various minds that drove him out of his own sanity. In fact, everyone around him lived in torment, in fear of him. I don't know what his real name was, but by the time I met him, he was actually more animal than man. And I don't mean that as an insult. It's simply a description of where he was in life. This homeless man led a very filthy life, as one would expect. Like I said, more animal than human. Others tried to restrain him, whether for his good or their good. Again, I don't know. And when I say restrain him, I mean they restrained him like an unwanted dog. He was chained. He was shackled. In fact, I would be afraid of him, if I'm just being honest, especially since he was known to scream all day and scream all night, and was so strong that no matter how many times he was restrained, he kept breaking free from all of the chains and the shackles. For him, it was like he was living in a prison, and yet he was unable to be imprisoned. Anything he did not want to do or be, he unfortunately did, because he couldn't stop himself. Misery marked his life. In fact, he would even harm himself, taking sharp rocks and just cutting himself. Self-mutilization is a term that is often used to describe that. He was filthy on the outside and he was filthy on the inside. And he was totally alone. No one could help him. He lived as someone outside of polite society in a place where people did not go unless they were forced to go there. He actually lived among the dead in cemeteries. And that is until one day, one special person showed up. Whether by accident or on purpose, I don't know. As you can tell, there's a lot I don't know about this situation. And this tormented man runs towards this gentleman. I don't know if he's running to harm him with one of the rocks that he hurts himself, or somehow maybe he recognized him from a distance and he's running to him. And this is the beginning of the end. Once he gets close enough, this tormented man, he falls to the ground. This violent aggressor now becomes a beggar, imploring the innocent man standing before him not to hurt him. Now, remember, this man was so strong that he could break chains and break shackles. And now he is imploring someone, don't hurt me. Instead, the one who was standing before him asks his name. It's probably the first polite conversation that he had had in who knows how long. And after a small conversation, this homeless man is convinced to do something that he could not do before. He's told to go home. And he does. Does anyone recognize this true story? I met this man in Mark chapter 5. I hope helping us to relive the story through me retelling it helps us to remember this is real and to remember this reality. Only Jesus can give us a true home, cleaned from the inside. Amen. This is a story of a homeless man sent home. As we continue to study narratives in the book of Mark. And there's many ways of telling this same event that I'm going to employ this morning. The first one we already did, reliving the story. And I hope it touched you more than me just reading the story, because let's all be honest, we become numb to what we know. And for the young ones here, I'm going to share a cartoon. And it's going to be something you parents can maybe go to as a resource for your children. And I'm going to share some pictures with you. We're going to watch a video. And then we're going to read the text. And hopefully recast the story so that we can make some applications. And in the future, there's going to be a sermon that I'm not going to preach today called Three Tombs. Here is the cartoon. As you can see, it's very well drawn, and we have Jesus and his disciples coming on a boat. And there's this demonic infused man up in the hills. And he runs down, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me. Come out of him. What is your name?" And we see that he is cast into the demons or the swine, and they run off the cliff. And those that owned the swine were more concerned about their lost revenue than they were about the man that Jesus had healed. And he asked, "Please let me come with you." And Jesus says, "Go home to your friends and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and what mercy he has shown you." And for those of you that want cartoons like this for Bible stories for your children, here is the link, and I could send it to you if you like. But I found this picture extremely telling. He is called Legion because we are many. Now I imagine when Jesus looked at him, he did not see that, but I can imagine this is what the man felt like. And out of the various pictures that I looked at, I thought this one might convey to us the torment that this man was undergoing. But then something strange happens, and we see in verses 11 and following, a large herd of pigs was there, feeding on the hillside. The demons begged him, "Send us to the pigs so that we may enter them." So he gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the pigs. The herd of about 2,000 rushed down the steep bank into the sea, and they drowned there. A legion could be up to 6,000 soldiers. And here we have thousands of pigs. But did you ever wonder why it includes this strange story? This is one of the strangest stories in the New Testament, isn't it? I'd like to suggest to you several reasons why because there's so much uncleanness in this story. Jesus is in an unclean land. It actually says he got out of the boat on the other side, and the unclean land we know were Gentiles, and that is how Jews looked at the Gentiles, as unclean. The man is possessed by an unclean spirit. And Mark prefers that phrase in describing demons. He is unclean. Mark chapter 5, verse 2. And we know that pigs are considered unclean also by Jews. Leviticus 11, verse 27, God told them they were not allowed to eat swine, pig, pork. So those are three readily understood reasons why there is this story. We know that Jesus is in Gentile land because there are pigs there. But could there be something more? There was a Roman legion known as the 10th Praetorian Legion. And it was garrisoned in Judea at various times, and in Syria, and later on in Jerusalem and in other places. And it had a nickname, Praetorian, which means of the sea strait. And we see in the story, Jesus gets out of a boat, and at the end of the narrative, Jesus gets in the boat. And the legion had several different mascots. One was a bull, one was a ship, one was a Neptune, and what do you think another mascot of the legion that Rome had stationed in Judea was? A boar. Swine. Pig. You see, this story, this narrative, this event has many, many lessons. And one of them is that Jesus cares for the Gentiles. But I want to suggest to you another one, and that is that Jesus has power even over the demons of hell because they are asking him permission. But let's not forget this. Jesus, by casting them into these boar, is showing, I don't care how many legions you have. I've got more control than any legion that you have stationed here, including boars. And I'll prove it. Now let's watch a video, and I hope this comes through. It is not coming in on the screen up there, is it? Well, this is what we're going to do. It's now up there.
Jesus, Son of the Most High God, what do you want with me? I beg you, don't punish me.
What is your name?
Legion. Lord, we beg you, do not send us into the abyss. Let us enter into the herd of swine. Follow you wherever you go. Let me come with you.
Go back home and tell what God has done for you.
When you look at that, you can't help but to be moved. This is amazing, what Jesus did. I am trying several ways to help us see what is going on in this particular miracle of Jesus. And the last thing I'd like for us to do is just to read the text. And when you look at it, it is arranged quite orderly. It starts off with Jesus and the Gentiles, and it'll end with Jesus and the Jews. And I'm not going to take the time to point out all of the different parts of it, but they're there on the screen if you would like to see how it unfolds and how each part is almost the opposite of the other. They came to the other side of the sea, to the region of the Gerasenes. As soon as he got out of the boat, a man with an unclean spirit came out of the tombs and met him. He lived in the tombs, and no one was able to restrain him anymore, not even with a chain, because he often had been bound with shackles and chains, but had torn the chains apart and smashed the shackles. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and on the mountains, he was always crying out and cutting himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and knelt down before him. And he cried out with a loud voice, "What do you have to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you before God, don't torment me." For he had told him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." "What is your name?" he asked him. "My name is Legion," he answered him, "because we are many." And he begged him earnestly not to send them out of the region. A large herd of pigs was there, feeding on the hillside. The demons begged him, "Send us to the pigs so that we may enter them." So he gave them permission. and the unclean spirits came out and entered the pigs. The herd of about 2,000 rushed down the steep bank into the sea and drowned there. The men who tended them ran off and reported it in town and the countryside, and people went to see what had happened. They came to Jesus and saw the man who had been demon-possessed sitting there, dressed, and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it described to them what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told about the pigs. Then they began to beg him to leave their region. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged him earnestly that he might remain with him. Jesus did not let him, but told him, "Go home to your own people and report to them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So he went out and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and they were all amazed. What's our one takeaway point? Only Jesus can set us free from whatever demons we have today. What's your application and assignment? I've got 2 action points for you. The first one is this event is about the identity of Jesus. Even the demons knew who Jesus was. And this confession happens before even the apostles or Peter in Mark chapter 8. So it's about the identity of Jesus and his power over all powers, even demons having to ask his permission. Then the question becomes this: in us, there is something that needs casting out. I did not say removed because I wonder sometimes if we fail because we are trying to remove what is within us that is unclean instead of totally submitting and getting down on our knees and begging Jesus to cast it out. He might cast it out immediately, or he might do it slowly for our benefit. Our second action point is this. One of the easiest ways for God to bless this congregation, for it to grow, is for all of us to tell people what Jesus has done for us. You tell people what Jesus has done for you. That means use your past so that you can point others to their future. Notice that Jesus sends the healed man home to his own people. Maybe your version might say friends. Home was to the Gentiles. Jews didn't have much dealing with Gentiles. They would listen much more to one of their own than they would a Jew. So maybe you can do something for someone that somebody else in this congregation cannot do. What is our imitation of this divine event? We all have been, or maybe currently still are, slaves to sin. He was filled with demons. He was saved from sin. The demons were cast out. And then Jesus tells him to be a storyteller of his sin or his demons and his salvation, which is what we can do. Where's the gospel in this? You and I don't have to be demon-possessed to be possessed, that is, owned by the devil. Everybody got that? So maybe this man in Mark chapter 5 describes us more than we want to admit. Where's the gospel in this? Well, let's look at this man and see if we see ourselves. Do we ever feel and experience being out of control? Do you have a sin in your life that you can't control? Maybe more than one? Have you ever wanted to be left alone by God? That's what he wanted. Sometimes people feel so sinful, so dirty. Others just want to be left alone because they know torment's coming, but they want to be left alone now so they can enjoy life as it comes. Have we ever hurt ourselves by our behavior? This man literally would hurt himself with rocks. Have we ever experienced callousness? Maybe the callousness was our own, where we or they cared more about things than us. They were not excited about this man that had been healed by Jesus. They wanted Jesus away because it cost them money. And how often do we choose demonic attitudes more than the attributes of Jesus? Where's the gospel? Demons came from another world to torment this man. And I still believe that the demonic world is active today, not in a demon possession, but rather in temptation. We are fighting things we cannot see, Ephesians chapter 6. So as demons came from another world to torment this man and tempt us, Jesus came from another world to bring us peace. And he can come to us today. So if you're homeless, stop being homeless. Come to Jesus as we stand and sing.